you. Bigfoot's real, the truth in you. Science, sense, and grace combined. This is all, it's time to shine. Mystery solved, it's time to shine. Squatch-D brings it live. Steve and Chris, they're gonna fly. No stone unturned, the facts alive. Bigfoot's story now defined. Footsteps here and shadows there. In the woods they do prepare. Concepts are like play. Bigfoot secrets shown today. Sunday night of lights to shine. Sunday night of sunshine. Swan seeds, it's time to shine. Sunday night of lights to shine. Sunday night of lights to shine. What's the resolve? It's time to shine. What's the resolve? It's time to shine.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D TV. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, October 13th, 2024. And I know my partner down there, Mr. Chris Bennett, was probably wondering what the hell was going on back there the last minute. And all of a sudden, with 3 seconds left to the intro to go, I pop in and get down, get the headphones on, and here I am. And I am your host, your guy, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls. And of course, that there is Chris Bennett. What's up, Chris?
Steve, man, it's good to see you. I hope everything's going well for you in New York. And well, I want to wish, we'll start off the show. I want to wish our Canadian brothers and sisters and viewers up there in the great North, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And, you know, we've got a Thanksgiving coming up in November, and which I guess it's a little bit different maybe here. But I don't know if you guys eat turkey or not, but I usually, you know, eat turkey about once a year at Thanksgiving, and then I don't want to see another turkey for at least a year. But once a year, oh yes, you know, I'm ready for.
The poutine is being passed tonight. I'll tell you, the poutine is being passed. Kaiju Ninja 1985 says he eats platypus for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's got to be some way you can cut out the venom sac there or whatever they got.
Well, you know, I don't eat platypus. You know, I don't like the bill.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, that was a bad joke. Another
Scrambled
bad
eggs,
platypus joke.
Scrambled eggs. Do they? I think they do lay eggs, if I'm not mistaken.
They do. Yes, they do.
I wonder how those would be scrambled. Scrambled platypus eggs.
Yeah.
I guess you can only get those in Australia, though, right? Or New Zealand? Somewhere down under.
Somewhere in that part of the world.
Yeah, I've not seen. We don't really have many of them around in Kentucky. Not that I've seen, anyway.
The North American howling platypus.
Mick says, Chris, Thanksgiving in Canada is pretty much the same as in the USA, except it was invented in Canada. Okay. All right.
Actually, Thanksgiving in the United States was created by George Washington. I don't know if you knew that, but
I did not. But I know it's kind of we switched over. I remember over in England, the big thing around the holidays would you would have a Christmas dinner. You'd have a Christmas goose, and but I guess there weren't a lot of geese here at that time. I'm not certain. So they started eating turkeys, which was a good
Well,
thing.
yeah. Well, when the the war broke out, all the geese stayed in Canada.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
The war broke out, and all the Canadian geese sided with the
right.
English.
That's it.
So they didn't fly south. So
Kind of starved us out, weren't they?
I talk about misinformation.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yes, after the American Revolutionary War, the Canadian geese refused to fly south across the border. Well,
and that's why and all the Tories were mad about it. So that's why they ended up having to have chicken. And that's where you got chicken cacciatore.
yeah, that sounds very believable.
That's certainly.
You know,
All right, enough of this.
There may be some truth in that. There may be kind of like the kangaroo wars over in Australia. You know, there was a little bit of truth behind that. Anyway, okay.
We have totally digressed, and it's not
enough nonsense. Yeah, you're right.
We're not even on the air 5 minutes. Okay, here we go. So let's do the roll call in the chat. First in today is Pete H. Hello, Pete. Walter Kroll. Hello, Walter.
Hang on, I'm still scrolling up. Yeah, the chat is hopping. Hello, guys.
Yep, and we got Relic coming who popped in to say hello. Will catch us tomorrow. And Sharon, same there.
Sure.
Pat Collins, good to see you. Danny Weeks, hello.
Danny? Welcome, Danny.
Karen Fisher, Brian McMahon, Jack Norton, Sandra Piper, hello. Traveling with Jim, hello.
Yeah.
Bristol, good to see you. Jay Fritz, hello, my friend. Don Gumel Jr.
Don?
Grasshopper, see, we didn't forget your Grasshopper. Mike Stetton, good to see you as well.
Mike, welcome.
Lil Kilroy has left the community.
Lil Kilroy.
Jen, what's going on? Jen, I'm sure her office assistant is hanging about.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Johnson Sr., good to see you, Gary. Jeremiah, Bigfoot Society, who says Snapples and chilled and ready. Good to see you, Susie.
Susie Monster.
The one, the only Mick is in the house. Hello, Mick. Angel Nolan. Hello, Kaiju Ninja 1985. Hello. Mrs. Trackway, Deb, good to see you. The Beachon is in the house as well. Jeffy Smith, hello, Jeffy. The Batmom, hello, Batmom, good to see you in the house as well. And now we're trying to. Stephanie, hello. Hello, Stephanie Barcelo from the Cryptozoology Paranormal Museum in Littleton, North Carolina. Hello.
Very
good
cool.
to see you guys. Yes, if things go well, that may be a stop on my little trip next year. So I'll make sure I'll let you guys know. I see Boris. I think Boris Khan is in that. Yep, there is Boris Khan. Gordy Goo Goo. Quiet Listener is in the house.
Quiet Listener, welcome.
Welcome. One of our lurkers, I think, but welcome. And maybe Quiet Listener's also a member. Hello, and Danny, thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. Wow.
And wow, it never ceases to amaze me. Tracy Bennett, hello. Good to see you, Tracy. And I think I've made it down the list. And Quiet Listener's a new listener. Welcome. Yeah. And today we've got a little treat. This is actually a viewer request to review the good old Jon-Erik Beckjord show. Now, where should I start with this one, Chris?
I don't know. This is from how many years ago, Steve?
18 years ago.
18 years ago. Okay. So, obviously, Jon-Erik Beckjord is no longer with us. He passed away some years ago.
2008.
Yeah. And, but some of his shows that he did, that was prior to me coming on as co-host of Squatchdetective. But some of the shows he did were just, outrageous.
Oh, there we go. I saw Steve on Paranormal Survivor. Yes, I was on 2 episodes. Great. And actually, I was actually on 3, but I didn't have a speaking part in the other one. They just put my character in there.
You're the picture, Steve.
Well, no, they actually had an actor play me in all 3 of my episodes.
Oh, wow. Hey, that's
And in
pretty
the
cool.
episode they didn't interview me, they mentioned me by name, and there was the same actor that played me in the other 2 episodes where I did have a speaking part. So it was kind of cool.
Well, if they do me, I hope they get Vin Diesel, you know.
And so yeah, one of the things that you'll notice is the sound quality. Mind you, let's go back 18 years, and one of the things was that the show at the time of doing this episode was only a few weeks old. I think we actually booked this, within the first few weeks of Squatch Detective Radio's existence, which eventually morphed into Squatch-D TV.
Yeah.
So here we are 18 years later. I can't believe it that, so 18 years later, here we are. So the sound quality, especially on my side, wasn't the greatest. I think Eric might have been using Skype at the time, which actually offered a much better voice, but or clearer thing. He might have had a Skype subscription.
Yeah.
In which case,
for the most part, though, at that time, Blog Talk was mainly a call-in radio show. You did it over the phone.
Oh, absolutely. Steven Barcelo from the says, of course, we got the disaster going on in the mountains of North Carolina, 30 inches of rain. We've been running supplies up to anything.
Wow.
So anything anybody can do to help North Carolina, because
they got hit hard. They did.
Yeah, they did get really hit hard. They got hit harder than Florida. Again, North Carolina is not kind of the place you would expect a storm like that. So anybody,
multiple bridges washed out, people, no power, no food, no way to go out and get food.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
So that sure tried to countermand an Amazon review I did. Yep, I don't doubt that. So the bad boy of the Bigfoot world at the time, probably the most zaniest, kookiest, craziest researcher at the time. Hang on. Take over for 1 second, Chris. I gotta let the office assistant out. He's looking at me and looking at the door. He wants out.
Take care of the office assistant.
He's already heard the episode.
We'll take care of him. Yeah. It's getting flooded. Yeah, Tracy. Not the mountains in North Carolina didn't get flooded, but all the low-lying areas that had bridges and stuff, a lot of them had washed the bridge out. So these people are basically trapped.
Okay.
And I saw one news clip where these guys had put 2 semi-truck trailers across the creek back to back, and they were using that as a makeshift bridge and driving these little 4-wheeler. They're not SUVs, UTVs, I think is what you call them. And they were using those to deliver supplies and stuff to the people that's more or less trapped in the mountains. But it's still probably weeks away before these people get workable roads and even power. So, prayers up for them. They need it. Anything you can do to help them, help.
Horrible. Yep. Horrible. And So
Jon-Erik Beckjord.
Yeah, it's when you think of those poor folks in South Carolina, it's kind of what we do here is kind of, so if anybody's listening from South Carolina, we're thinking about you. We're thinking about you and hope this gives you at least a little bit of relief. And yes, Jen asked, is there a donation site people should know about? Yes, please. Let us know. Okay, Samaritan's Purse is one. No, not at all, Stephen. Very important stuff. We always try to maintain the grip of the people as well. So
right.
Yeah. Anyway, Eric Beckjord. So when we did this show, Blog Talk was it was in its infancy, and this very show is in its infancy,
Yeah.
and our product was very much different from what it is today. In both sound quality, now we do video and better intros and stuff like that. Of course, back then we were able to use whatever the hell music we want, so I've cut the intro and outro to this particular. And I also cut the the disclaimer I put at the beginning of the show, because that wasn't necessary, because this is not a live show. There's no call-in line. Blog Talk afforded us a call-in line, and we use it during the show, and you'll hear some call-ins during this as well. And I see Brian Wolf is in, and while I'm there, let me just sidestep a little bit. But on Wolf Rock Radio, we will be airing an audio version of our Sunday shows from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And, of course, we're going to do bumpers to hopefully drive more people over to here to see the video portion of the show. But we're glad to be partnering up with Wolf Rock Radio and Brian over there to provide some good good content. And they're going to do Crypto Sundays on Wolf Rock Radio, and he's going to have several talk shows on there, ours being one of them. So we're going to do some bumpers this week, and we're going to be downloading at least one of our episodes. I think we're going to download the St. Helens episode and put it over on there.
Oh, that's cool.
Where maybe Steve Zania's cases or whatever we want. But we got some stuff, and thank you, Brian, for that opportunity to reach out to your audiences, and we look forward to helping you out, and vice versa. We look forward for you helping us out. So, a great thing.
What, as a former truck driver, at that time, podcast was just starting, and when I started driving a truck, we always listened to AM radio, and we would listen to like George Norrie, Coast to Coast AM and stuff. And that was a big thing. Yeah,
Art Bell,
yeah, Art Bell, and you would listen to that, or you would listen to audiobooks on cassette, if anybody remembers what those were.
Yep.
But podcast for truck drivers, great stuff.
So so let's get the fun started. Where you'll ask a very green Steve Kulls. Now, mind you, at this time in my career, I had been in research about 8 years. Starting in 98, this is now 2006. January 1 was the launch of squatchdetective.com, and September 24th was the launching of Squatch Detective Radio. And it's at September 24th, 2006. So again, this is 18 years old. And I think the show aired in October, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. It could have been November. It could have been even early December. But I do know that the show was less than 3 months old when we did this show. And we had a very voracious schedule, a very ambitious schedule, because in January the following year, in 2007, we would interview John Green, which we've aired on this podcast as well.
Right.
So here it is. Let's take a listen, and we'll be stopping it for those. Now, when we did the show with the interview last week, there was one guy that got kind of ticked off at. We kept stopping it. And he was like all angry. Hey, look, the guy. Now listen, we're going to be starting and stopping to add color commentary to this. So if that's not your bag, I'm sorry about that. But we're going to just predicate that we're going to be starting and stopping this. So here we go. How are you tonight, Eric?
I am giggling with glee and rocking with anticipation.
Excellent. So, as usual, I always start off our guests with the famous question: how in the world did you get started in this business?
Well, everything else was boring. And this has not been boring. It may have been depriving, it may have been poverty-stricken, it may have been unpleasant and weird, but it has not been boring.
Amen to that.
Yeah, he didn't really leave me much there.
Well, see, I think that's what he was saying, though. That lets you know a little bit about Eric Beckjord. He wasn't just a Bigfoot researcher. He was into UFOs. He was into Loch Ness. He was into the abominable snowman, Yeti. He was into everything, you know.
All right, here we go.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you feel the Bigfoot creature is?
And there I am. I'm getting right to it. And if you can hear that glass in the background with the ice cube swirling around, that was not me. That was him. So I don't know if he was having a little nip and tuck while we were doing the show, but
and some of the evidences that you've discovered. And I know you've been at this for 30 plus years yourself, and I'm curious to hear the evidence you have and present it to our listeners tonight. So I'll give you the floor.
Well, I've been at this for 11 years on the internet since 1995, and I guess 20 more years before that, before the internet seemed to exist as we know it today.
so you notice he had to say something a little different than what I said. I said over 30 years into research, which was true. But he had to mention he's been on, the internet since 95. Well, that's basically when the internet started. So it was no big surprise.
In fact, I remember the good old days when you could call somebody up on the phone and they wouldn't freak out, or they would just say, "Oh my God, you're invading my privacy," by calling them up and talking to them. Whereas today, if you get somebody's phone somehow, and you call them, they say, "How'd you get my phone? What are you going to do to me now? Are you going to kill me? Are you going to track down my house and burn it down?" All this other stuff. I remember the good old days when researchers talked to each other on the telephone, and they even sometimes went to each other's houses and knocked on the door. Amazing.
And you know what? There is a lot of truth to that back then as there is now.
Yeah.
He was spot on. And that's 18 years ago already. We're complaining about people just communicating via electronically instead of over the phone, in person, and face to face.
And these days, it is a lot of people are paranoid about anybody knowing their name and phone number.
Oh, back then too, but the problem today has been exacerbated tenfold. So
I got an email. I'm sure a lot of people get these emails from these people that try to extort you, and they say, "Well, I know your name," and then he give you your phone number and your address, and then of course I usually don't reply to those, but my God, people, I'm in the phone book. All right. This is no secret.
Right. But he does make the very initial. And listen, he was no angel on the internet. He was the bad boy of the Bigfoot internet researchers at the time. He had been banned from so many places for just being so insightful. And when I say insightful, I mean INCITEFUL, not insightful, INSIGHTUFL. So he was he would incite a lot of different issues throughout that. And he would bounce from forum to forum and come back with a sock account or a new screen name. And the Bigfoot forums was, no stranger to him. But he does make a great point that civility was thrown out the door the minute people stopped talking with one another face to face or over the phone.
Today, of course, we have rampant paranoia, and we have a lot of
Oh, no doubt, Mick said Steve Eric was full of himself. Yeah, listen, I've talked to the man not only on a couple of episodes of the show, but I spent quite a few hours with him on the phone as well. You don't think I don't know Eric Beckjord and understand that I am still, at this point, I'm a forensic interviewer. So I understand the kind of character I'm dealing with. If I sound a little green, it's because I was green at broadcasting at the time. But Um, but yeah, that is yeah, I knew exactly where Eric was.
I don't know, afraid little people that are hiding on the internet. And I'm here to liberate them all with new ideas, new concepts, and I'm here to announce the end of F&B.
And for our listeners
And 18 years later, F&B Flesh and Blood still exists.
out there don't know what F&B means, I would assume that means flesh and blood.
Right, flesh and blood as we used to know it.
Okay, so Kaiju Ninja asks, was Eric really a researcher or was he an enthusiast? Oh, he was a bona fide researcher. You'll see as the slides go on during the show. I have about 4 or 5 different pictures on this particular presentation, as they'll change up as the program progresses. But he went to Loch Ness and allegedly got a Loch Ness video, I should say film, because he was filming with a film camera. But we'll continue on.
As it was widely assumed to be. That is now over, and you are now liberated. You may now think in new ways. And the reason for this is a book. It's called The Hunt for the Skinwalker. Now, if you call yourself out there, if you call yourself a Bigfoot researcher, don't you dare open your mouth to anyone until you have read this book. If you haven't read the book, then you don't belong in this field. This is the best. It beats out all of the other books. That makes Tom Powell look like kindergarten. It makes quite a few other books look very, very backward. All the books written back in the 70s are just totally outdated. It's called Hunt for the Skinwalker by Dr. Colm Kelleher, and it is available through Amazon.com. Also, George Knapp, a TV producer in Vegas, is a co-author of it. So if you haven't got this book, hide your head in shame and get on Amazon and get it for $8. $8, and read it.
Well, I don't know about $8, but I did manage to get it for $15, and there is the book. Man, it is. He ain't kidding. It's really a good book. It's, again, The Hunt for the Skinwalker, believe it or not, was, it doesn't mention this book was originally published. I'm trying to find the actual publication date.
Kaiju Ninja 1985 said he hadn't read it. I haven't read it either.
The publication is, I believe, trying to see, 2005, right? Now, the thing about the Skinwalker book was written by Dr. Colm Kelleher and George Knapp. Now, if Colm Kelleher sounds familiar, and this is before any of this information went public, but Colm Kelleher was part of NIDS, which is mentioned in this book. NIDS was the National Institute of Discovery Science, was run by Bob Bigelow and Bass, the Bigelow Aerospace Science. And little did we know, some years later, I mean, this interview was in 2000.
Mick said John Green's material.
Oh, absolutely. Does this have anything to do with Bigfoot? Very, 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 very little, right? It mentions.
I don't think the Skinwalker phenomena and Bigfoot are connected, but
right, correct.
Eric seemed to think they were.
Well, the thing is they call it Skinwalker, and really that was just one of the Native American legends from the Ute tribe in Nevada. But little did we know that this book was written by a scientist who is actually, this whole project was being funded by OSAP. It was a federal government project, OSAP, which later turned into ATIP, which we've, now got the book Imminent by, Louis Elizondo.
Too many
So,
acronyms.
right, yeah. So, yeah, of course, the federal government is Alphabet City. We all know that.
Yep.
But yeah, there it is, and it's very early days that this is actually describing that project that was funded back way back when by Harry Reid and John Inouye from Hawaii, and I believe Ted Stevens from Alaska. They were the three senators that got the funding for this project at Skinwalker Ranch. So that's just so let's continue on.
It is changing everything.
And basically give us some of the premise of that book, because there's a lot of readers out there that aren't, or rather listeners out there that aren't necessarily Bigfoot researchers as well. So maybe you want to hit the premise of that a little bit.
Dr. Kelleher was until 2004. He was a member on staff of a group called NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science, which was run by a multimillionaire in Vegas, designed to investigate paranormal situations of all kinds. And they zeroed in, among other. They had many targets, and one of those that they zeroed in on was a what you call a hot spot in Utah, in the Unitas Mountains, and it was a ranch. They called it the Gorman Ranch because it was owned previously by a fellow named Gorman. And
now, since then, we've realized it's not called the Gorman Ranch. That was the pseudonym used in the book. It was actually owned by a gentleman named Sherman, and it's actually been now called the Sherman Ranch. But there's been a little bit of, the pseudonym was dropped after a lot of the public reactions came out to that. And of course, the billionaire he's talking about is Bob Bigelow, the head of Bigelow Air and Space Sciences, and he has government contracts, yada yada.
This Mr. Gorman was reporting all kinds of very weird things happening on his ranch. There were UFOs 5 miles wide. There were UFOs only 1 mile wide. There were UFOs a lot smaller than that. There were blobs, there were orbs. There were dark masses in trees that would have telepathy with you. There were cattle mutilations. There was Bigfoot. There was giant hyenas that couldn't be killed.
I don't recall that being in the book, but I do recall them talking about the wolf.
And all kinds of strange trickster-like events happening to the people there. They're being as if some child was playing with them. All this was going on for Mr. Gorman and his family, and people at NIDS found out about it. And back in the, I think it was 97, 98, in that time zone, they bought the ranch so that they could have unlimited access to it. And then they hired Mr. Gorman to come back and be the foreman to take care of the cattle. Make a long story short, all these events started to happen to the scientists from NIDS on the ranch that had happened to Gorman, although maybe not quite as much, not quite as often, but it happened still a great deal. And they, the advantage here is that they happen to some people who have the words PhD behind their name, which in science makes a big, big, big difference. If it's just you and I, unfortunately, we are treated very badly by other scientists because they figure that we don't count. That's the way it goes. You have to be Dr. So-and-so before they'll even open your mail.
And that is, to some extent, true with a lot of scientists. Very true. That universities will ignore you if you don't have a PhD behind your name. Very true. I know Uncle Pippi thinks that this rat ranch was and is the biggest grift in his opinion. Well, I tend to disagree with you. There's been way too many third-party witnesses that have experienced things there that defy normality. Well, let's just say that. But you're entitled to your opinion, and that's all fine and well.
And, well, it did happen to Dr. Kelleher and several of his colleagues, these events, and it's all in the book, The Hunt for the Skinwalker. And he suggests toward the end of the book that because of the variety of things here happening, most of which could not be proven with physical evidence, they got even very bad pictures, not very good pictures either. They came to the theory that fits in with many of the modern theoretical physicists about cosmology, the science of the universe, how it came to be, to deal with parallel worlds and parallel universe theories. Now, these theories say that we have universes out there stacked up like a pancake stack, or like the floors of a giant skyscraper. And they go up forever and down forever. And that in each one of these parallel universes, there is a different set of circumstances that varies from the one before, and that things from these are able to come to our universe. All this started with theories by Einstein, and then the other professors like Dr. Michio Kaku, Dr. Fred Alan Wolf, and about 6 or 8 others have pushed this even further.
Now, the amazing thing is he's mentioned like Michio Kaku, and that's before Michio Kaku became mainstream.
Well, that's the Skinwalker Ranch they're talking about is the subject of this book. Is that the same Skinwalker Ranch that was featured in that video series?
The TV
Ranch?
series, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And there is a great companion documentary that came out, I think 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, called The Hunt for the Skinwalker, and it was done by Jeremy Corbell with George Knapp, and that's when they first really met one another, was doing that particular documentary. Very well done. It actually has some of the photos that Nids had gotten. Very fascinating stuff.
And the idea is that why, for instance, are there different kinds of Bigfoot? And it isn't because one lives in Florida and the other lives in Washington State. It isn't like that. It's why there are differences even within the states. Some are shaped one way and some are shaped another. Some have this kind of a head, some have that kind of a head, and some have this kind of behavior and others have the other kind of behavior. Why is this? Well, the answer is possibly that they may come here from different worlds or parallel universes.
And here we go.
From each other. So you could have a type A Bigfoot walking around in the woods on the east side of the property, and you could have a type B Bigfoot walking around on the other side of the property, because they come from different places to start with. Why are some of them wearing clothes or partly clothed and others never? Why are some aggressive and why are some not? Why can some of them talk to you in your head and others cannot or don't? Why are these differences? Well, the differences, again, is because they may be coming from different universes when they get here, and they don't necessarily relate to each other.
Now, mind you, folks, that Eric is the one of the forefathers of woo. So you got to understand that he was woo before woo was cool.
And Matt's in here from Central Florida Bigfoot. He was still in Florida, evidently.
Okay.
For 5 days now. Matt, hang in there, buddy.
Yeah, hang in there, brother. We're praying for you.
So anyway, this is Dr. Kelleher puts out this idea. He puts out an awful lot of information about how hard it is to advance new ideas in science, particularly to challenge the dominant way of thinking or paradigm, and what happens to people who try and do this. And to some extent, it has happened to him. If you're not a PhD and you're just a more or less regular guy, you get even stomped on even harder, as I ought to know. Do we have any questions so far?
Well, I do have some things that may answer those on the flesh and blood side, and what I'm going to do is I'll let you continue on in your dissertation, because I really want you to continue on in the rest of it. Because I feel a lot of times that, in this field, we interrupt each other too much before we get our full story out. As we've seen a researcher as of late taking a particular beating because the full story isn't out. So I'll just honestly.
What researcher? Where? What are you talking about? Explain.
I have promised myself I am getting beyond that topic. And
are you that researcher?
Nope, not at all.
Well, who is he, and what happened to him?
I
assume we have a little time here.
Well, we do. We absolutely do.
But what happened to him? What did he do?
Well, he released a statement on the Patterson film.
Oh, you mean MK?
Yeah, now we start getting into the massacre. Now, mind you, the massacre hoax or the massacre story has been going on that long, and this had just happened in October of 2008. So this massacre theory, the PG film, has been going on for 18 years as well.
Yep, and before.
Yes, this was Blog Talk, Kaiju.
Before he could get his story completely out, well, you know the story. You've been there. It's not like our audience.
He doesn't get his whole story out. He keeps the story half hidden. That's the problem with him. Well, I talked to him personally on the telephone. That's not just email. I talked to him on the phone, and I cannot get the man to come out with all of it.
Well,
he's always hiding something.
In due time, I guess.
That's what he keeps saying, but he doesn't give any reasons for why it should be due time. He's saying there's a stick being held by Bigfoot in the movie. Well, I am the foremost analyst of the movie, not him. I've been doing it for 24 years.
Now, Chris, you're holding your head, but do you realize that Jon-Erik Beckjord had one of the original Patterson copies?
Yes, he did.
Absolutely.
And I haven't found any stick anywhere.
And I agree with him.
Now, I said to him, all right, I've got the same movie you do. In fact, I've got a better movie than you do. Where is the stick? He won't tell me.
And he did have a better movie than him.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that it's supposed to be just before you go over the log pile or something, okay? But I haven't seen that so far. But he won't explain. He won't send me copies of the shots he's talking about.
Well, I'm sure it has a lot to do with the book release that's upcoming, and there is some media. I mean,
what book is this? There's a movie involved.
That's what I'm talking about. Movie involved.
Now that was the movie that John L. Johnson was going to produce that never came out. Because John L. was the one who kind of released this information, even because MK was talking about it in circles. I had first heard about this through the rumor mill at the 2008 Ohio Bigfoot conference.
Yeah, and
so
on the film that Eric had, it was a first generation copy.
Correct.
It was not a copy of a copy of a copy. It was the first copy of the original film.
Right. There was, I believe there was 6 copies made of the original film. And Eric somehow got a hold of one of them. I probably paid for it. But yeah, and thank you, Mick.
Mick, thank you so much.
Mick, we're going to get to your comment towards the end. You did make a great comment about Letterman. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I mean, that's how much I've far removed myself from the particular.
Now, mind you, this is very early in the broadcast days, so we were trying to avoid controversy at the time. Now we
Sure.
take it on head on. So back then, being new, I didn't want to start stirring the waves trying to start this new show. We'll stick to, interviews and try not to rub anybody the wrong way. And no matter what they were or, and believe it or not, in 2008, we also had early 2009, January 2009, we actually had Todd Standing on as a guest. And, what he said, although, and this was before the puppet came out and any of that.
Yep.
But this was when he had started his really website and wasn't putting any pictures out just yet. Puppet, I think, came out in 2009 or 2010, or maybe even later. Later in 2009, maybe. But we had Standing on, and we listened to some of his theories and stuff. But anyway,
particular situation.
But he denies this. He denies that. I said, look, is it because of this movie, and are you involved with this producer who's putting together this movie, and he's going to show this stuff, and that's why you're holding back? And he says, no. Well, then I say, what's the reason? He doesn't answer that.
Well,
he's gotten to be super mysterious.
Well, perhaps he has his reasons. But
maybe the reasons aren't very good.
Well, maybe they are, and he doesn't want to say it too.
Well, here we
demand. The only one can answer that, really, Eric, is MK. And like I said, that's not a topic I really wanted to stress tonight. And as a matter of fact, I did have a couple of questions, and kind of a counterpoint, because as you know, the listeners on this show know that I'm pretty much a believer in the flesh and blood theory. And like I said,
no good reason.
Huh? Well,
you haven't got any good reasons for that.
I certainly do, but I'll
let's hear it.
I'm always late.
Yeah, you're starting to bait.
Hear your reasons.
And that
very simple. Something that's flesh and blood leaves tracks, do they not?
No.
Sure they do.
No.
Well, something that is
in 1856 in 1856 in England. There was a little town outside of Leeds where the people woke up. There was a light snowfall, and they found like 3,500 tracks that were of cleft hooves, about 4 inches long, and they were going over fences. They were going up two fences and apparently going through the fence. They were going up to brick walls and going through the brick walls. They were going up on top of houses. They were going under rivers and creeks and coming up again. They were going up to trees and going right through the trees. That is not flesh and blood, but it did lead.
But what do hooves have to do with Bigfoot?
Right.
See, I'm a much more equipped researcher than I was 18 years ago, but really that has nothing to do with Bigfoot. Let's keep it on topic.
Tracks. They call that the devil's footprints. And you cannot tell me that just because somebody comes here, let's say you have a space-time visitor or you have Spock or something landing, and he steps in the snow for a few steps and goes back, he might be flesh and blood where he comes from. Maybe. We don't know. But we do know that he's not normal on this planet.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is on theory, this could possibly exist. Of course, on theory itself, a mouse can balance an elephant on its tail. Given the right particular formula, the right particular theory. What I'm saying is what evidence is there?
I don't accept that just because you say it. I don't accept that just because you're saying so. You're going to have to prove it to me.
Well, I'm sure some physicists could prove that to you. I'm
not sure. I'm skeptical.
Well, I'm skeptical too.
But I'm still asking you, and I've been trying to nail you on this for years. Why is it that you say that just because somebody puts a footprint down, that means they have to be flesh and blood? For all you know, it can be an android robot.
And at this point, me and Mark, who was my co-host at the time, he had nothing to do with Bigfoot research. He was just there for moral support, and we would come in and do some we started chuckling. And there was many times you're going to hear us mute out, or you'll hear silence on my side because we were laughing so hard. And this is where we started laughing.
You don't know it's flesh and blood.
Well,
You don't know that there's a heart beating in there. You don't know that there's blood that would bleed. You don't know that.
In the law of nature. The law of nature.
No.
It's not a robot, Eric. We know that.
My cousin has a robo-reptile, and he has it go along in the sand at the beach with a remote control, and that sucker leaves tracks. You can tell me that's flesh and blood? Hell no. It's a robot.
And then what about the hair?
Okay, flesh and blood, perhaps he was playing on semantics there.
Well, he's trying to create controversy there.
Right.
The
bottom line is he's trying, what I should have said was it's a, physical being.
Yeah.
And a robot is a physical being too. So
what about the dermal ridges? What about the localizations? What about, these are all animal characteristics.
Wait a minute. Whoa. How do you know that any vocalization is coming from Bigfoot? Prove it. Has anyone ever seen Bigfoot opening its mouth and making a noise?
Yes.
No.
Well,
we don't know that vocalizations specifically are from Bigfoot. We don't know that. We'd like to think so, but we don't know that for sure.
Okay.
Bigfoot does not stand in the middle of a clearing and start screaming so you can watch it. That has not happened.
But it has, and number two, wait till you hear his cacophonies a little further down the road. Apparently Bigfoot does stand in the middle of the road.
Sure, that's entirely possible. I'm sure I can come up with a report somewhere where somebody has actually seen it vocalized.
I don't think.
Bukkake. Didn't you guys know about the Bigfoot factory in the middle of the wilderness? Welcome, Bukkake. Good to see you.
You can.
Well,
also, you have to prove that report is true.
Well,
how can you prove that report is true?
Well,
show me a videotape. Show me a videotape where this is happening.
So he is using the same logic that exactly, John. He is a contrarian because he will talk about all these other different examples coming up, and you're gonna be rolling when you hear it. He'll be talking about these, and the true contrarian, he'll say, "Well, prove it. How come there's no video of this? How come you can't just believe these stories?" But in retrospect, he'll turn around and believe these other stories you're going to hear from him, and they're totally hysterical.
Eric, my whole point is very simply is show me what report that you have can be
very true, Mick.
But before we go on to that question, we have a caller from the 606 area code.
And here we go.
And let me put them on. And caller from the 606 area code, you're on the air.
I have a question for Mr. Beckjord.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir.
Mr. Beckjord, I was listening to you speak about the footprints in London. I had a question for you. If these creatures or people are moving through parallel universes and they can walk through walls in our time, how are they leaving footprints also in the snow or whatever?
How are they leaving footprints in the snow?
Yes, you said there were footprints that were going up to walls, walking through walls, and coming out the other side of walls.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to tell you that the thing that did it in 1858 is the same thing that did it in 2005. They did it at different places at different times, and they may be different creatures or people. There's no guarantee they're the same one.
No, I understand that, but my question is something that can walk through a wall, my mind tells me it would leave no footprints. Agreed?
No, I don't agree. Because first of all, and this is going to be very difficult and unpleasant for people to grasp, but when you're dealing with creatures from another parallel world or universe, there are no rules. There are no rules. There's no law. There's no rules. There's no set of principles that say you have to do this and you have to do that. Anything goes. You could have people come here that are painted zebra stripes. For all we know, painted zebra stripes in natural skin. We could have the next day people come here that are painted blue. The day after that, you could have people come here that are walking on top of their head all day long. We don't know. There are no rules.
Okay,
Also, we have reports, by the way, from UFO abductees where aliens come through walls to get them.
Do the aliens leave footprints?
I'm not aware, but I think Bigfoot's an alien and it leaves footprints.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Right now.
Do the aliens leave footprints?
Who was that?
That is a friend of ours, Tom, from out in, where was he from, Illinois?
Something like that.
Maybe he's from the 666 area code. I know it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to people when I say things like this because it means that you can't put your finger on it, you can't grasp it, and you can't nail it down. But that is the way it is. Anything goes in this game.
Well, you got
all bets are off.
I understand the principle behind the theory. But if my point being is that you're so sure that this is not a flesh and blood creature, whereas it very well could be, couldn't it?
Well, let me ask a dumb question just for our audience. If it still comes from a parallel universe, it's still flesh and blood.
No, not anymore.
And
because now we have a videotape. We have a videotape now by Brian Smith of Walla Walla, Washington, that shows tracks commencing out of nothing and tracks later on ending in nothing.
Okay, but I go back to
in snow they are. Now this is the same thing that I have seen with my own eyeballs in different places.
I understand that, but in tracks, again,
yes,
they could be misinterpreted, could they not?
Not by me and not by him.
Well,
we're not newbies.
Oh, here we go. We're not newbies.
Steve, we're not newbies. We're not idiots.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying that tracks.
How are you going to miss? How do you misinterpret? How do you misinterpret an 18-inch track? How do you misinterpret an 18?
Very simple. I could still give you a dozen reasons why people do it all the time.
And I can tell you how. I can tell you how that the tracks start in the middle of the field, out of nowhere, is where the guy tracked in his boots, and then he put on his Bigfoot stompers and turned around and left Bigfoot tracks on top of his tracks where he came in. That's exactly how they can go to the middle of the field and end nowhere.
Okay, and so. You'll see me. I switch up eventually. You'll see me kind of. I'm getting my dander up just a little bit right now.
Tell me.
In snow, it's very easy because an 18-inch track, after a day of sunlight, can actually be a 6-inch track. And what happens is that when the sun beats down on it, you can get melt, and that is true.
Steve, who said it was there for a day? I didn't. I never said it was there for a day.
Well,
these were fresh tracks. Fresh, F-R-E-S-H, fresh tracks.
Did this gentleman from Walla Walla, Washington, did he see the tracks being made?
No, because then he would have filmed Bigfoot doing it.
I got him again.
But wait a minute, stop. Okay. There's something you don't know. There's something you need to know. There's something you need to know here that you don't know.
Shoot me the presentation.
They went up in a couple of pickup trucks, a bunch of these guys. Brian and his friends and his wife, his kids, they went up a couple of pickup trucks, and they drove up this snowy road, and then after 20 minutes they turned around and they came back. They found fresh tracks crossing the road, crossing over their own car tracks. That's pretty fresh.
Very well.
In other words, the tracks were made within 20 minutes.
Thank you very much. Let me throw out our phone number to the folks. Mark, do you want to give our callers the phone number?
Yeah, the phone number is area code 347-996-15 5800. That's 347-996-5800.
And if anybody calls that now, they'll probably, hello, Snake Pit, we never close.
Anybody that wants to call in.
Yep, come on, give us a call, folks. We're having a lively discussion here tonight. And we have again on our...
And Kaiju Ninja, to answer your question, yes, Eric did start as a flesh and blood guy way back in the late 60s, early 70s.
As our guest, Jon-Erik Beckjord from good old California. And, I guess...
I have a comment, Steve, about controversy.
Sure.
Controversy is a good thing. It is a good thing. If you don't have controversy, you have a dead program. You want controversy. I listen to these other programs by other people that I won't name, where everybody's sitting around agreeing with each other, saying, "Oh, isn't that nice you found this, and isn't it nice you found that? Oh, wow, wow." But it doesn't go anywhere. It's controversy that brings out the new stuff. Controversy.
I
want
agree with
controversy.
that wholeheartedly, and if anything, it makes for good radio. That's for sure.
Yeah, where everybody agrees, that's bad radio.
That can be true.
Oh my God. Bill remembers. It was not Elmer Blinkley, it was Elmer Dinkley. I dialed 9. Yeah, this is Elmer Dinkley. You just dialed my house. I remember that skit.
Again, you had made something, a remark about variations. Why do we have different creatures? And the simple point is there could be very varying biological factors going on too. For example, the squatches that we have generally in the Northeast here are long-haired and skinny, but we've seen them also a little more plumper. And what it seems to be is that
I think nowadays I would use the term robust.
For example, if they're seen early on in the season, May, April, they're seen very grungy, mangy, and skinny. As the season progresses,
that was my Kurt Cobain reference, grungy.
Towards the end of the season, this time of year, generally they're more beefed up. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that, they're different species because one's fatter than the other. That happens in a lot of different animals. I mean, if you look at the deer, they're in different times of season, and there's times of season here when our deer are very beefed up, and there's other times in the season, especially in the springtime, they're very skinny as well.
But they don't have enough to eat to do all that. They don't have enough to eat to do that, to do it your way. There isn't enough food there.
I would not say that. There's deer, especially in the forest.
I would say that.
I would say that.
I would say that. The fact that there are deer is meaningless. It's how many of them that they kill that counts. And furthermore, we have a lot of cases, Steve, there's a lot of cases where they will take a deer and maybe eat the livers, or maybe take some of the guts and not necessarily eat the guts, just pull them out, let them lie there, and then they don't eat the venison, they don't eat the meat. And that's not right, because if you have a flesh and blood animal, well, a bear, for instance, of the same size takes 90 pounds of meat to eat every day. I was looking at the lion cage yesterday in the zoo. Man, those babes were eating and eating and eating and growling and eating, and they have these huge muscles and paws and everything. Man, they have to eat a lot to survive. And they don't go surviving a little roots and shoots and berries and a few crayfish from the pond. They have to eat big-time meat.
Agreed.
And the same thing goes with grizzly bears. They have to eat tons and tons of salmon to put on some fat, and they leave all kinds of debris, and they leave poop everywhere. Poop. And I've walked through it, walked in it, walked around it, and I can tell when I've got bear tracks going and poop, the bear and the poop are together. You do not find this with Bigfoot.
Now, right now, we were muted because we were laughing so hard about this.
You find very little poop ever.
Well, but there is. So
I said ever. You find very little, very little. They aren't pooping out very much at all. Maybe they make a big dump once in a while, but they don't put out any kind of amount of poop like a bear does. And if it's the same kind of metabolism of a flesh and blood earthly animal, it should be doing that, and it doesn't.
I have one question. How did we get
on? What goes in must come out.
How do we get on this crappy topic to begin with? No, realistically...
well, it disgusted Letterman, too. But nevertheless, it's a major factor here. This is a major fact. And this is something that some people have admitted to me on the Internet that shoots them down because there isn't any poop.
Okay, hang on. Let me get my question out here, Eric. My question to you is, if this... Well, let me...
At this point, I'm not trying to argue with him. I'm trying to, because the more he talks, the crazier he sounds.
Precede this question with a question. Do you consider Bigfoot an intelligent creature? More intelligent than we are, obviously, if it's moving through interdimensions?
Who's in the zoo and who's in the jail and who isn't?
Well, that doesn't answer my question.
Human beings are in jails, other animals are in the zoo, but Bigfoot is not, so it's smarter than any of us.
Okay. Then why is it that we wear pants and we go on a toilet or we go in a stream, not just defecate right on the ground all over the back of itself? Well, why is it, if it's that much smarter than we are, does it do that? Why doesn't it poop on the spaceship? I guess is my question. Or the...
Does it poop on the spaceship?
Okay,
wherever it's coming from.
I need to understand your question a little better.
Well, you yourself said, well, the question is very clear. You, by your own admission, say there has been some scat that's attributed to Bigfoot. So obviously, why? I mean, if it's so much smarter than us, you know, why doesn't it use the John if there's a John? I mean, there's been plenty of sightings on campgrounds.
Well, because Donald Trump hasn't built a lot of Bigfoot Johns out in the woods.
Now, mind you, this is 2008.
Oh, man.
But why not wear
pants? With all the money?
Why doesn't it wear pants? Why doesn't it wear clothing to protect it from its elements? Why doesn't it, wear gloves? I mean, if it's going into a hostile environment such as the woods, why doesn't it wear footwear? Why doesn't it wear something to protect its eyes? Why doesn't it wear something to protect its hands? It doesn't. So that's telling me...
I can answer you.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that.
I got answers for your questions. I really have answers. I have obtained a number... Well, I have answers for your questions if I can answer. I have obtained, in my research in Washington State when I was living there...
Here it comes.
I had a lot of people calling my hotline, and I would visit them and fill out report forms and so forth. And I met a couple of people that had talked to me about Bigfoot wearing very dirty, filthy leather trousers and some kind of a vest. I also talked to a kidnappee person, the person who was kidnapped, who said that he had seen them sewing up leather garments from deer skin to wear. Now, he didn't tell me they were wearing these, but apparently they were making them, maybe for the winter. I don't know. There are also reports in the board reports books. Janet and Colin Board have these Bigfoot reports. There are a few reports here and there of Bigfoot being in trousers or having a cape or leading another one that was in a cape by a rope or something.
Okay, at this point, I'm on the floor. I remember that. I was like, what? Now, mind you, because it was so funny, I didn't hit him up with the same point he used to me. Well, is there any proof of that? Because that's exactly what he said about vocalizations. Well, is there any proof of that? Hysterical.
But you're supposed to accept Bigfoot in a cape.
That's right, a Bigfoot in a cape. And wearing trousers and some sort of vest.
There are also, and to me this is the most intriguing of all, there are some reports of motorists seeing somebody by the road, and it turns out to be Bigfoot, wearing human blue jeans that are all ripped up, and looking, and a shirt, and looking like really desperate, like, save me, I want to get back to you guys, I want to be back with you guys. And I think that that's a situation where somehow we had a mind manifestation type of Bigfoot that or a change where someone changed from being a human being into a Bigfoot wearing the same clothes. And then later on, he changes back. So apparently sometimes they do have clothing if you believe reports. If you don't believe reports, then they don't.
But I have to say this. If you're talking about something that's coming from a complete new universe, why are these witnesses stating things that are of this planet? In other words, you see deerskin, you see blue jeans, and what appears to be a ripped T-shirt. Those are all things that exist here. It would be beyond comprehension. I mean, think about it. Look at the UFO report.
Beyond.
Because it's called anthropocentrism, folks. Anthropomorphism. And where does Bigfoot carry his skinning knife and his needles if he's not wearing pants?
Your comprehension?
Beyond
whose comprehension?
Whatever they're wearing.
Beyond your personal comprehension?
No. It would be beyond our comprehension as a human being. They would be wearing something completely different. Look at.
I don't think you don't fully get the idea of an alternate universe. Let me explain again.
Well,
you can have universe.
I understand that fine, but what I'm saying is.
I don't think you do. I don't think you do. Well, I'm going to try and fill in a few points here that maybe you'll see what I mean.
Okay, let me.
You can have a universe.
Number one more time. Our calling number is going to be 347-996-5800. Come on, folks, give us a call in here. Let's get the show livened up some more. Okay, Eric, go on. Back to you.
Well, if you have a time machine.
If you have an infinite number, and I want you to think about the term infinity. If you think about infinity long.
Now, did you see what I did there? I purposely put the phone number out to stop his rhythm.
Right.
It's like I'll put the phone number out here and stop him.
Long enough, you'll go insane. Infinity goes on forever.
I know, I'm married.
Think of an endless.
I don't know if anybody caught that one.
Oh boy! Well, there's always Match.com, but anyway, there's an endless stretch of infinite number of universes, and you can find one that is exactly like ours, except that nobody's married. You can find another one where everyone is married. You can find another one where everybody is black. You can find another one where everyone is Chicano. And you can find another universe where everyone is white. You can find another universe where everything is stuck in 1492 and never advanced past that. You can find another universe where everything is just simply chalk, gray, black with no life in it whatsoever.
Hey, and if I
can
throw
have
this
another
one
universe
where my co-host is actually taller than me, but I'm sorry.
Fine. And he can be wearing clothes like you, like yours. He could be wearing a 5-year-old plaid shirt and some torn jeans.
That's right.
With holes in the boots. He could be doing that. You could have another world where everyone looks like Bob Gimlin. Anything goes. Anything goes. Anything goes in these places. And if they come here, they bring anything goes with them.
But why can't we go there?
We do.
We do.
Where do you think you go when your head hits the pillow?
And to sleep.
What is sleep? Sleep facilitates you going to another parallel universe. That's why you have these strange dreams.
But I don't have strange dreams. Not
What's wrong
always.
with you, dude? What's wrong with you, dude?
Well, I mean,
maybe you have dreams where all the women are available and hot for you.
I don't think so. Well, I don't have strange dreams. I just, when I'm awake, life seems stranger than when I go to bed. So I don't understand that. But well, I understand.
There's more to the universe than you could ever dream of. There's, I think what Shakespeare said. There is more to heaven and earth than is dreamt of in your philosophy, Horatio, and that's true. There is more to heaven and earth, and on all the other dimensions than is dreamt of by us, than we can figure out. We don't know what's out there, but there's a lot more that we can't even dream of, can't even guess about.
But
It's weird. It's just simply weird, weird, weird. And that weirdness comes here. That's why we have things like the Dover demon that this liar and thief Coleman talks about. That's why we have phantom kangaroos.
Eric, let's be careful. I said we're not going to attack other people tonight.
We might even have a parallel universe where Tom Biscardi is honest.
Again, Eric, we are not going to attack other people tonight.
Why not? It's such fun.
No, it's really not. Start bickering amongst.
I said, actually, I was wrong about that point. Actually, it's pretty fun depending on who that person is.
The whole field is full of frauds and bullshitters. Didn't you know this?
All right. Let's keep it back on topic. And the topic tonight was this paranormal theory. And tonight's discussion, it's not a shot to besmirch anybody or to knock. And frankly, if somebody calls in and tries to knock you because of what you believe, I'm going to hang up on them. So,
at that point in time of the show, we were so trying not to embroil and battle anything. I mean, I think this was like our fourth show, if that. Yeah. But hey, it is what it is now. Now it would be like, yeah, go ahead.
Well, Jon-Erik Beckjord was a master of logical fallacy, using it in argument. He was a master. And it's hilarious. And this is one of the reasons why I always found this interview to be, awesome to listen to. He turns fallacy into his opinion, and then he explains his opinion with more fallacy in such a way where he's using a dishonest argument to make his point. And it's hilarious. It really is. This is good.
Another question. No, he did not. He did not have his own show.
No. Not that I know of. I don't think.
In fact, at the time, there was we were the first Bigfoot show on Blog Talk, and I think that either this week or the week before that the Sasquatch Experience with Sean Forker and Henry May had started.
He was on Coast to Coast AM, and he was on some of the late night talk shows. So he made the circuit.
Yeah,
especially the California, circuit.
And he was on Letterman several times.
Letterman, yes, he was on Letterman.
And we'll get into that in a little bit.
So we keep this whole thing on topic, and that's the ground rules tonight. And
I can take it, but the question is, can they take what I throw back?
Well, I'd rather not find out. I don't want to have a Springer show. I want to have a lively debate, but I don't want a Jerry Springer type show. People are
Jerry Springer's very popular.
Yeah, I know, but he's also not very respected amongst the hosts of television. So,
well, here's the problem. We have a lot of people out here who want to be respectable because they think in terms of flesh and blood, but yet it's gone on now for at least 40 years, more and more, with no flesh and blood results, but they're still hanging on like a 90-year-old single woman waiting to get married. It doesn't happen.
Well, I will say this. Is it possible? Certainly anything is possible. Do I particularly subscribe to it? I don't think so, because, like I said, if these things were more intelligent than us, I think they would be more equipped for the terrain. And the other thing you had mentioned about dreams.
They don't need to be.
Hold on a second.
They don't need to be equipped for the terrain.
Let me ask you this
They
question.
apparently are hotter than we are. They breathe faster.
And this is actually before the good old days where we could actually mute the other speaker.
And they have a higher heat signature. Apparently they're warmer than they need to be, so they don't have to wear a coat.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. There's a lot of times I dream and I'm in a city setting and it's people I know, or I'm in a city setting where people I don't know, or I'm in a wooded setting and there's nobody around, or how come these things don't appear in the middle of cities or in the middle of my living room or the middle of the street in a suburban type neighborhood, but they appear in the woods and in the wilderness, in particular wilderness areas, but they don't appear, in metropolitan areas. Why is that? I mean,
they appear in an invisible form.
okay. And
when they go inside of a city, they go invisible because they don't want to cause traffic accidents.
Perfect.
Well,
Steve tries to ground him and get him based on what a real biological creature would do. And where does this lead? They can go invisible.
because they don't want to cause accidents.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, go ahead.
Jen goes, total sense right there.
They're being very generous to us. If a Bigfoot appeared in downtown traffic, it would cause a big accident, don't you think?
It very well could be. I know a moose can pretty much cause a pileup in Albany once.
So Bigfoot goes invisible when they're going downtown, so as to not create an accident.
But where's the proof to that?
But I think about it. If they poop, wouldn't that be, without a bathroom, wouldn't that be an accident?
Well, I don't know. I think they turn invisible when they poop. That way their poop is invisible.
Makes all the sense to me. Wow. All these years, we finally solved it.
Oh, well, that's another false equivalence, but we've been hearing a lot
And
of
another
that.
one, and there's Chuck, our good buddy Chuck.
Yeah.
Saying, I remember listening to this show. I was cracking up. It was, we were cracking up too. I mean, when he said, the whole invisible thing, we were like,
yeah, most of the time, because when Steve is when he cuts off from asking the question, he's silent. That's because he's muted out laughing.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I mean, is this just a theory, or is there some actual proof that goes along with that? And that's where the flesh and blood people have the problem with that.
Well, Steve, if I have total proof of absolutely everything we're talking about here, I wouldn't be on this program. I'd be in front of the Nobel Prize Committee in Sweden getting my Nobel Prize.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be here. I'd be in Life magazine. I'd be on CNN, okay? And it's because we haven't found these answers yet that we're still on programs like yours. And I'm hoping that by so doing that I can encourage people to call our Bigfoot hotline.
Why don't you throw them out that number?
At 415-289-2277. 289-2277 in 415 area code.
poor son of a bitch that owns that number now.
Yeah.
Do not call that number.
Yeah.
Do not call that number, folks.
Yeah, again, unless you have a time machine, don't call that number.
And how about your website?
What they have. It's beckjord.com. If you can't remember that, then think of bigfoot.org.
There you go. We got our numbers. And again, for our callers out there, our number is area code 347-996-5800. And for those who are wondering,
how come there's in the world he isn't getting a prize? I'm much sharper than I was. I mean, like I said, that's like show 4 or 5 or 6. Much sharper today. Much more boisterous today. And I have a mute button to get my point across to. Don't call that number. And Martin says that's not fair.
we're not on Yahoo Messenger tonight because I would just feel completely overwhelmed to be running.
Oh, the good old days of Yahoo Messenger, where we used to take questions from Yahoo Messenger too.
The board, running the soundboard, and doing the other things. But so far, everything tonight has gone off without a hitch. And that's amazing.
Now, I got a question for Steve Kulls.
Now that is that's because in our first few shows, we were always plagued with technical difficulties at Blog Talk. That was one of our great. Either the phone wasn't working right, or the board wasn't working right, or the sound wasn't working right.
Go ahead, shoot there, EB.
Now you see, I got my chops on. I got a question for someone. Oh, go ahead, shoot there, EB.
You've only been this 5 years or less, as far as I know.
Oh no,
Now, haven't you ever considered that back in 1958, people were still talking about the same things like this, and it's gone on years after years, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 70, 80, 90.
So while he's blabbing on about that, what year this was recorded in 2006. It's quite a while ago. There's this podcast. What's going on in the photo, Kaiju Ninja asks? Well, that is Jon-Erik Beckjord in the red circle to the right, and on the left-hand side, a rectangle, there is allegedly a Bigfoot kind of leaning over his truck or doing something there. And I don't know if that corner is a blow up of what, but yeah, that's what's supposedly going on there. That was actually a photo he released about a year prior to his death in 2008. And unfortunately, rest in peace, Eric. He did pass away from bone cancer. A very painful way to go, as our good friend Joe Snyder did. To be fair, Steve, Blog Talk threw plenty of curveballs during your time with them. Yep.
Yes.
Sure did.
2000 and nothing happens.
Oh,
If this
absolutely.
was a normal animal, you would find a dead one on the tracks, on the road, in the creek, at the bottom of a cliff, someplace, and we never do.
So he's using all the skeptical arguments basically to say his theory is right. Uncle Pippi asked, was that earlier cell phone tech? No, it wasn't a cell phone tech number. And yes, it was out of New York, because that's where Blog Talk was based out of, was New York City. As far as I know, they still are. We'll get into that in a little bit too, if you want.
And that's a violation of Murphy's Law.
Well, it very, very well could be, but it also could be Murphy's Law at its best as well, too. We're trying to prove it. Of course, we're not being able to find it. How many times have we stumbled over and not actually observed it? We got to understand there's a lot of people out there in this field that are advocational, not professional.
I don't buy that. It's gone on too long.
Well,
Too long, man. Too long.
Too long. Technology.
All these excuses do not wash anymore.
Okay, how long did it take to prove the mountain gorilla existed? When the mountain gorilla was thought of as a monster and they thought it was nothing.
It took 6 months. 6 months.
No, it didn't.
No.
He's wrong about that.
Yeah.
6 months. Because I'll tell you something about the mountain gorilla, and that's something that I'm shocked that you would bring that up. This was in 1856. In 1856, people came back from Africa saying,
He's confusing the lowland gorilla with the mountain gorilla.
there are these big hairy gorilla type, there's these hairy things that they call gorillas down there that beat on their chests in the central Congo. And in 6 months, an expedition got on some steamships and took rifles and equipment down there, and they steamed on down in ships down to Africa. And they went to the area that was mentioned, and they found a mountain gorilla, and they shot him.
Actually, that was a lowland gorilla, Eric. The mountain gorilla took another 6 years. Actually, I think they didn't officially discover the mountain gorilla until like 1931. So it was more than 6 years. I apologize.
And brought him back. It was once they were told about it, and once they had the equipment to look, which like steamships and guns, it wasn't hard to do. It wasn't that, and now there were reports before, but nobody ever went. When they finally did go, it was a done deal.
Welcome, Air Force One. Good to see you in chat tonight. Welcome aboard. Horse, yep, exactly. Horse manure. I agree.
Now, we've been hearing about Bigfoot since 565 A.D., and we do not find them, and we do not kill them. We cannot.
Eric,
it has not happened.
Eric, we have a caller. Let me click him on. Give me 1 second here. And caller from the
A new victim?
516 area code. You are on the air.
A new victim.
Yeah, hi, Steve. How are you tonight? Mike from Long Island.
Oh, you're muted, Steve. Hey.
That's our good friend Mike Hillen from Long Island calling in there.
Yeah.
The Long Island Yeti. He used to go by the handle. Yep.
How you doing, Mike?
All right, Steve. Before I even get to a question, I guess just an opening statement. Steve, I think you kind of got your hands full tonight here with EB.
He always will. He always will. He always will because Steve hasn't got a leg to stand on.
You notice I just was like,
All right, well.
Steve is calling from an old position. It's dead. A dead old stand.
Well, okay.
It's like he's in a deer stand using dead cartridges.
Right. All right, well, I see it's going to be difficult to get a word in edgewise, so I'm just going to have to try this question, squeeze this question right in there. EB, you mentioned that, people search all over and they haven't found the body yet. And you say if this was a flesh and blood creature that you should be able to find a body, correct? This is your position.
My position is that it isn't a question of searching. Searching is interesting and is helpful, but you see, with all the other animals, giraffes and water buffalo and American buffalo and deer and elk and bears, all these things are.
He could have just said with other animals that are known.
Subject to disease and accidents as well as hunting.
But they're also in millions as well.
They also get hit. They also get hit by cars and trucks.
And again, we're talking about animals that are numbered far greater than a Sasquatch.
And that they wind up showing up dead for some reasons or other, and it has nothing to do with hunting for them or searching. They show up in natural places.
Well,
this never happens with Bigfoot.
That's correct. That is correct. But EB, you forget, Bigfoot is a creature with hands like human beings, and it has been theorized by many different people that maybe the reason people don't find them is because they bury their dead like people do. Now, those other animals you're talking about that you find dead, they lack opposable thumbs, so they cannot use tools. They can't bury themselves.
Mike,
prove it.
Mike and Eric,
show me some proof.
Not
Eric,
some proof. Not to mention, EB.
Oh, you gotta
how
love
many
it.
bears are found dead in the woods that have not been killed by man, that die of natural.
One every month. One every month. Hey, dude. One every month.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what.
The famous airplane scene. That's right. I lost my whole wing over Macho Grande.
You gotta love Jon-Erik Beckjord, though. I mean, he can sit there and tell you that the Bigfoot go into cities and they become invisible. But when you say, well, Bigfoot say, how can you explain you can't find their body? Well, they could bury their dead. Well,
or why did they get hit by a car?
We got to accept that it could be an invisible Bigfoot walking around in New York City. But,
that you can drive right through and not kill.
But when we theorize that the Bigfoot creatures may bury their dead, prove it. Oh my God, this is top shelf. A psychologist could write a book on this guy.
That's right. Bigfoot puts their bodies in portals. That's right. Good one. Good one.
You would go.
God, I wish I had this forum way back when to have Eric on. It would be so.
Oh God! If we could time travel everybody in the chat back to 2006. I mean, this would be great.
It would be done.
I've heard the argument over and over about not finding the bodies. There could be other explanations for that. I'm just saying.
Could be does not cut it. Could be does not cut it. After so.
Well, I can't prove my point, but you don't. You're not going to be able to prove your point either. I mean, until one is found and until it's determined what it is, everything is a theory, and you have yours, and some other people have their own. But your view is no more important and carries no more weight than anybody else's. Just keep that in mind, EB.
Mike, hang on 1 second there, Mike. Hang on 1 second. Let me just put Eric back on the line here 1 quick second.
One thing. You're forgetting one thing. Bigfoot talked to me.
Here we go.
Here we go.
They told me this.
You notice the dead silence.
Yes, yes.
That's because we're laughing our asses off.
Justifiable, yes. Now he's coming out with an appeal to authority. Go ahead.
Okay.
Good.
So, folks, I know some folks are getting mad in chat about his attitude. Don't get mad. He's long gone. But this is some of the attitudes you get from these woo folks. But here we go. This is where it gets even more colorful just before the end of this.
Wow, I think we lost Mike. And Mike, if you're there, call us on back.
Mike never had anything in the first place. But
hang on a second, Eric. Hang on a second, Eric. Let me take you to task on that. Okay, there's Mike. Let me take you to task on that. The creatures you have mentioned, all numbered like deer, they number in the millions across the United States. We're talking maybe about 5,000 creatures nationwide here. And bears, again, are in the millions. So you'd expect to see one every once in a while as well. But
you're saying we have 1 million bears in this country? Get off.
The latest census.
A million black bears? Come on.
Well, we have 6 million deer alone in New York State. So when you bring up deer, and like I said, I've never talked to a hunter that's come across a dead bear in the woods. And you know what? I've talked to a lot of hunters that have been hunting up here for many a year.
I don't care about your hunters, my friend. I'm talking about the rangers in I think it's the Kootenai National Park up in Yukon territory. They run across dead grizzly bears.
Yeah, okay.
Every month.
What's the population of grizzlies up there?
Excuse me?
What's the population of grizzlies up there?
I think it's about 2,000. In that park, about 2,000.
Okay, well, you're talking about something that has a population nationwide of about 2,000 to 5,000. So whereas there may be, there may only be 25 of these creatures in a particular area. Mike, you have any other questions?
I don't think you fully understand the concept of Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law.
Now we're talking about Murphy's Law, which is a made-up.
Here we
go. Made-up thing.
Says to remind you, sir, that if anything can go wrong, it will at the worst possible time. Which means to say that we all have mistakes and accidents. Okay, everyone,
Eric,
no matter how rare they are.
Eric, hang on 1 second. Mike, you have another question? I got another caller on the other line.
No, Steve, I think that was it. Basically, it's not going to be a two-way conversation with Mr. Beckjord, so I think I'll just leave it at that. But I will ask him one more question. EB, if it's at all possible, keep in mind this is the Squatch Detective show, and try to let Steve run the show a little bit here and there. That's all I have. Take care.
Thank you, Mike.
Steve, good luck with the rest of the day. You're going to need it.
Take care, Mike.
My answer to Mike, which means he's still listening, is that Steve may be a nice guy personally, but he's extremely wrong.
That's a matter of opinion. And
no,
caller from the 530, caller from the area.
Now, mind you, how cool was I handling that back then as a new host?
You were extremely patient. Yes, extremely.
The funny thing is, the older you get, the less patience you have. Get off the lawn.
Code 530, you're on the air. How are you tonight?
Really good. I have a question. I'm all into the multiverse theory and everything. I'm Drake from Davis. But I have a couple questions for Mr. Beckford. If he spoke to Bigfoot, was he in their universe or ours, and what did he say? I'll take my answer off the air.
Well, yeah.
Well, I have an answer.
Okay.
Pregnant pause there because I thought he was going to laugh it off, but I have an answer.
And the answer is that I believe we were in this universe, and I believe they were too. And one of them seemed to say to me that we're not real. We're here, but we're not real like you think of real as being real. We're a different kind of real. We're not here. We're not real in the normal sense.
We're just laughing.
And I was taking pictures. I took pictures at the time. This was in the winter. The same location where I got a picture of Bigfoot this summer in September, which is a 10-footer. It's on my website, Beckjord.com. But in any case, and it's not Beckford. There's no F in my name at all.
Now you notice that's part of his personality. He is like
easily offended if you mispronounce his name.
Easily offended, and he's trying to find every single wrong thing you say. You cannot say anything that is incorrect to him. Otherwise, he will bring it up to belittle you. That was his way.
The point was that they were trying to. They were telling me this, and at the same time, around that same time, I also took quite a few pictures of the snow and the logs and the creek and everything. And there are images in the trees and around the logs and rocks. There are images of strange heads that look primate-like to me. I don't make a big deal of those because they're much better ones that I have. But those still existed, and I got them at that time. And it led me to believe that the creatures that spoke to me were connected with Bigfoot. Now, can I prove this? No. But I can say to you that I have found tracks that will suddenly disappear in snow. There's now a videotape showing tracks that disappear in snow. There's also, I had a situation where Bigfoot just vanished in front of my eyes and then reappeared to two of my partners running down a bank in the mud. It jumped a fence and never came down.
And those partners never made themselves public either, which is very interesting.
There was no tracks on the other side in mud for 200 feet. Things like that are just not standard, normal, zoological at all.
Unless you're really bad at tracking and you're misinterpreting birds that have made tracks in snow, et cetera,
Right.
That snow melt is hit, and that's why they suddenly, because they take off. Because birds will hop on snow. Eagles do it all the time. So do certain buzzards, et cetera, et cetera.
Not unless Bigfoot has wings. And if that's true, then he has to be bat squatch. But I don't think so.
And Danny, both Les and John towards the end kind of disavowed a lot of Todd Standing's claims. So,
wow. Okay, well, we are just about up for time on our show tonight, and it's been a quick hour, I must say. It's just flown by. Eric, I'm going to stick you on hold a second. I want to thank you for coming.
Okay, and that is the show. Now, yes, there are a couple of questions out here. I wanted to. Beckjord was on the Letterman show a couple of times.
Yeah, he was.
I thought I included that photo in the diorama here, but apparently
it's got one somewhere. Yeah, it's on the slides show.
Right. Okay. So, but the reason why he had him on a few times because Beckjord was just batshit crazy. You know, it was good. It was good for a laugh. It was good to keep that narrative going that Bigfoot people are crazy.
Right.
That's why the media throughout the 80s and 90s, there was a transmodal shift with the media. When Bigfoot first came out, the media ate it up, and the scientists were the one who were scoffing. And then over time, that had changed, where scientists beginning to get more interested in it. And science was actually being more serious about their answers, even though it was still against us. But the media kind of switched modes, and it became an item to make fun of and to laugh at. And that's why a person like Eric Beckjord would get on a popular show like Letterman.
Right.
Because controversy is good. You know how Eric said controversy is good. But in that case, if you watch the actual episodes with Beckjord on them, and the audience is laughing at him. They're not laughing with him. They're laughing at him. And Dave is just prodding and making jokes. Now, I will give you a little bit of history. My own history was that, there was a time, especially in the late 2000s, I was getting a lot of TV offers. And of course, I was on, America's Book of Secrets and, the NatGeo shows and Monster Quest and all that. But I had been approached by a show that's, what's his name? Right. See, I had it in the back of my head.
Oh,
Now I forgot the name of the actor, so never mind. Damn it! I hate being old sometimes. I can blame Bob Saget. I got it, Bob Saget.
there you
So I
go.
was approached by a show, from Bob Saget, and I thought, well, Bob Saget's a comedian. I'm not doing that show. No way. And eventually, because I didn't want to do it, they moved their operation to the West Coast, and they had Matt Moneymaker on and Bobo and Cliff Barrickman.
Yeah.
And yes, there were some scenes in it that were pretty funny, but it was more serious than it was comedic. And wouldn't you know that because of that show, that's what spawned Finding Bigfoot.
Hmm.
So had I had done the show with Saget, they wanted to team me up with this guy down in Elmira, and the guy is kind of nice guy. I believe some of his research is very well based, but he was he was a firearm nut, and he was afraid of them, and he always carried guns in the woods, and it was very wild with them and very loose with them, to be frankly honest. And I did not want to get teamed up with that guy either.
Right.
But yeah, who knows? Finding Bigfoot could have been me and this guy. Eventually that had spurned out of it. I'm sure the production company was the same. They did the Saget show. They did Finding Bigfoot. So yeah, I turned it down. The guy was from Elmira, New York, the Connecticut Hill area. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do it, because I think what they wanted to do was team this very serious researcher, which is they've seen me on Monster Quest before,
Right.
and they wanted to team me with this kind of flaky, loose cannon type of guy,
Right.
and instead they went over to the West Coast and did that show. So, who knows? Because it was shortly thereafter that Finding Bigfoot started. It was within a year that Finding Bigfoot show had started, and it wasn't because they had planned that originally. So very strange how things feather out. Really weird. But do I regret it? No, because it's all about the integrity of the mission.
And
Well, very good. We're glad that helped
Yeah.
you, Nick.
yeah,
And that's what we do. If we can give some people education and entertainment at the same time, we love our audience, and our audience is the greatest now. And thankfully, thanks to the StreamYard platform and YouTube now, we're able to connect with the audience a lot better than we were able to connect with Blog Talk Radio.
yeah.
And it's just awesome, and I appreciate every single one of you guys.
Well, yeah. The media has continued to grow and improve. The old days of being on the phone with Blog Talk, have gone to, well, we're looking at each other live, and it's so cool. And plus, we've got audience participation in the chat. That's just it's so awesome.
And I got to say that since I turned that show down, networks coming to me have been very limited. It was almost like they took it as, well, he's not interested in doing network TV. Right. And of course, now I'm on The Proof Is Out There. So I don't know if anybody's caught any of the new episodes. I don't have the ability to watch those shows live anymore. So as I've kind of downgraded, I've kind of cut the cord of it. So finding an up-to-date show. So I don't know if I'm on them or not. I haven't heard much. But if I am, I know they shot 4 episodes of me on The Proof Is Out There. So I don't know if aside from being on the Bigfoot episode last year, I don't know if I'm on any episodes right as of yet. So, but I know I did last December. I did videotape 4 episodes. 4 segments for The Proof Is Out There. So we'll see what happens. And I don't know. I haven't heard much about them coming out to tape this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Start looking for them sometime this month, or at the end of the month, maybe. You never know.
Yeah, Mick. The Proof Is Out There is History Channel.
But by listening to Eric Beckjord on the interview, though, I mean, it's just incredible, and it's awesome how he could, and you showed me something before the show about that he liked to create controversy.
Thank you for bringing that up. Let me bring that up there. So this is kind of Eric's character. He actually has a biography out there. So if anybody wants to catch it, it's out there on Amazon. Just Google his name, the biography will pop up. But one of the quotes on the back of the book was, "I've seen Eric at a Mensa meeting." Now, mind you, Eric did have a genius IQ. And he was actually a member of Mensa, which is the people who have genius IQs. They have meetings and they talk about different world problems. And this quote says, "I've seen Eric at a Mensa meeting start 2 different discussion groups and then leave each of them arguing amongst themselves. I asked him why he did that. He said, someone's got to do it. It makes the meeting more interesting." So he loved stirring people up. He loved the controversy. He loved being at the center of, he loved being aggravating. I would love to see what his childhood was like and how he was raised and all of that. I don't know if the biography, even though it says it's a biography, I don't know if it's a true biography where it goes back to his childhood. I'm almost tempted to purchase a copy of it just to see, see the early years and how he was formed and how his mind was formed into this antagonistic magnet.
I mean, it's just great how he could use the art of logical fallacy to continue an argument and make it circular, never going anywhere.
Right.
And yet you can't prove him wrong because he'll just say, well, if you come up with some logical fact that seems, which should be like, these beings are biological, they leave tracks. Well, he'll say, well, prove it. You don't know that they're biological. They could be robots.
Right.
The Bigfoot robot. Yes. Okay.
Sorry.
That was good. He must have watched that episode of the $6 Million Man where they had the bionic robot. Do you remember that? The Bigfoot?
Right. Yeah. And that was originally the first time. Really, everything is falling apart right now. The first time it was played by of course, Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant. Yes, sir. He did. Yeah, that's one of my favorite interviews.
Right.
Yeah, Kaiju Ninja said that was an awesome interview. I agree. That's one of my favorite. And I would go back to Blog Talk and listen to that every now and then, and then it kind of disappeared off Blog Talk because we've not been on Blog Talk for a long time, and I think they did a house cleaning.
Yep.
Some of the older shows were just kind of deleted.
Right. Yeah. I don't think you can get any of our shows. They might be able to get a few, but in reality, I think it's been, we came on to YouTube in 2019. So we've been here over 5 years already, going into our 6th year. It feels like we've only been doing this a couple of years on YouTube.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like we've been on YouTube that long, which we had the Paranormal TV Network before that. And that was the first jump into video.
The bottom line is you got to try to get those shows. The bottom line is that in reality, I do have a lot of those shows downloaded. Not all of them, but I do have a lot of them. Any thoughts on the PG reel having extra footage. The extra footage he had was of what you can watch on Todd Prescott's The Sasquatch Archives.
Right.
You know, where it has the before filming where they were on horseback, and then the after filming where they were casting the prints.
Yes.
So I'm sure that's what
that. I think prior to the Patty footage, they were shooting some B-roll of him leading a pack horse.
Our pleasure, Stephen. Again, anybody that can donate to any charity that's helping North Carolina, please do. They've been devastated. FEMA is claiming empty pockets, so please help them out.
And the last show we did, we were wondering if Matt had moved to Kentucky or not, or was still in Florida. And we found out this time, evidently, Matt was still in Florida during this hurricane. Yep. So he's not had power for 5 days, I think it was, he said.
And prayers to all of our Floridians and, you know, anybody that's been affected, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, anybody that's been affected by these storms, you know, our prayers are out to you. And if there's anything we can do to help out to spread the word, just let us know. Throw us an email at admin@squatchdetective.com, and we'll get the word out on the shows.
Hang in there. It's going to be tough, but they'll get everything working again. You guys will have power and hopefully bridges and roads again. I know going into North Carolina from Tennessee, parts of Interstate 40 washed out. It's just gone. And when I saw the footage of that, I couldn't believe it. Wow. You know, it looked like a little creek that runs by I-40 along that area. And that's the mountainous region where it starts winding around. Yeah. And evidently those creeks had got up enough water from the flooding that they washed out one side of the interstate. It's just incredible.
And before we go tonight, I just want to throw a big thank you out to Danny Weeks for dipping in $5 to the kitty. We appreciate that so much. Thank you. And for Mick gifting 5 memberships to folks out there on there. And of course, for the membership, I was trying to upload some pictures today, but it's been a little bit of a busy day. I got the show squared away and had to do some. Sunday is the prepare for Monday thing where the garbage comes. So I was running around the house, collected all the garbage and, you know, the fun man chores, and I made dinner tonight. So, but we are going to be doing some video for the membership this week. We have got the Saratoga visit, one of the, you know, portions of the Saratoga visit that we have. And we'll be getting out there probably again, either this fall out to the battlefield to show you guys some more of that, and out to that, not to mention Steve is me talking to myself like I'm in third person. Thank you again, Mick.
And I want to just do a quick shout out to,
but I just want to say I'm investigating 2 sighting reports right now.
Oh, very cool.
So
and I want to do a quick shout out to all the people in Park City, Kentucky, who had, I think, I don't know if this is their first ever Bigfoot festival, but they had a Bigfoot festival this weekend, last Saturday. And Jared was actually able to attend. He was probably up at the crack of dawn and went there and came back and met me at 12:30, you know, at lunchtime. So he said that they had quite a few people there, and they did some sort of calling contest too. Yep. So maybe that event will catch on. I hope it gains some traction.
And I know Adam Davies was there.
Adam Davies, yeah.
He was there, yep. Great guy. Had I known, I would have, well, it would have been nice to see him, but maybe we'll catch him next year, so we'll see.
Maybe. Well, that would be something to look into. Maybe we can get Steve Kulls to come visit Park City next year.
Blue Ridge's alleged baby Bigfoot. I'm not quite sure if I know that one.
No.
I'll take a look, Boris. I'm not quite sure I know it, you know, and chances are that if I'm not analyzing it, it's no big deal. And it's not likely real, because if something was real, you would see it on this channel real quick. And that's for sure. Again,
look at that. Yeah. Maybe the New York baby video or something.
No, that's the Blue Ridges. So,
okay.
Again, if there's no story behind it, there's not detailed information behind it and just somebody saying, oh, take a look at this video, it's probably garbage. But anyway, we are at that time, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
That it's time to say goodnight.
Yeah.
We have had a great show tonight, and I appreciate y'all in chat.
Thank you, guys.
Maybe he did. Yeah, okay. Now I know who you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Now I know the one you're talking about. And truthfully, if it was something really spectacular, it would be on here pretty quick. I'll just put it to you that way. So, if I don't comment on an analysis, that's between me and the submitter. So, I think in looking at things, it's grainy, it's far away, it's a lot of interpretation. And when you deal with interpretation, what's the first thing the critics say? Pareidolia. Right. So, not saying it didn't happen, not saying it, again, I don't believe, and I know what you're talking about. There is something moving in that video. Absolutely. So let me take a look at it again. If it's the one now I'm thinking about, there is something moving in it. What it is exactly, it's really hard to tell. So I need to really, and again, having a computer crash, trying to get my video editors up and running, the proper ones, takes a little bit of time. So now I'm thinking about that may be the one where there's something moving real quick. I'll take a look at it. So, but I haven't had my video editors in full blast until just this week. I got some things running. So,
cool. Yep. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate you guys. We got the greatest audience in Bigfoot, and we know it. And we appreciate you guys. We're honored to have you and tickled to death that you want to hang out with us on Sunday nights and Friday nights and Wednesday nights sometimes. And if it's your first time watching, if you hadn't subscribed yet, please do. Hit that subscribe button. Punch the thumbs up button on the way out. It helps us. It really does. The algorithm wants to know if you guys are watching, anybody watching. So let it know. Leave a comment, if you get a chance. Just drop a comment down the show after the show if you want to. It doesn't matter. But every little bit you can do helps, and it doesn't cost anything.
Absolutely. And folks, on behalf of me and everybody here, we want to wish everybody a happy and safe week. We'll see you all Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on Squatch-D-TV. Again, youtube.com/SquatchDTV at Squatch-D-TV. Sorry, you forgot the at. And guys, again, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you love what we do here, support this channel, support good Bigfoot research, join the membership. Anyway, folks, have a great week. We'll see you all later. Catch you in a bit.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member, and it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.